Imagine your brain is a meticulously constructed, highly advanced security system. It has one job: to keep you alive. In a normal, relatively safe life, this system runs in the background. It manages traffic, updates software, and only triggers a full alarm when there is an actual undeniable threat. But then something happens, an event or a series of events that overwhelms your capacity to cope. Trauma. To understand how trauma changes the brain, you first have to understand that trauma is not just a memory of a bad thing that happened in the past. It is an active, physical reshaping of the neural pathways inside your head. It is your brain optimizing itself for survival at the expense of almost everything else. To picture this, let's look at the three key players in the neurobiology of trauma. First, meet the amygdala. This is your brain's alarm system. It's a tiny, almond-shaped structure deep in the limbic system, and its only job is to scan the horizon for danger. It doesn't use logic, it uses speed. It detects a threat often before you are even consciously aware of it, and it instantly initiates the fight, flight, or freeze response. It dumps adrenaline and cortisol into your system, prepping your body to survive. In a brain that has not experienced significant trauma, the amygdala functions like a reliable smoke detector. It chirps when there is actual smoke. But in a traumatized brain, the amygdala becomes hyperactive. It is perpetually stuck on high alert. The smoke detector is now so sensitive that it screams at the slightest hint of burnt toast. Because the world has proven itself to be dangerous, the amygdala stops looking for proof of safety and starts assuming danger is everywhere. It treats a slightly abrupt tone from a coworker with the same physiological urgency as a physical attack. The second player is the prefrontal cortex. This is the CEO of your brain. Located right behind your forehead, it is responsible for logic, reason, complex decision-making, and emotional regulation. It is the part of you that can look at the smoke detected by the amygdala and say, wait, that's just toast. Stand down. This is known as top-down regulation. The CEO manages the alarm system. But trauma disrupts this relationship. Research shows that people with post-traumatic stress often have a measurable decrease in activity in their prefrontal cortex. When the amygdala screams, the prefrontal cortex doesn't have the strength to counter it. Instead of top-down regulation, you have bottom-up dictatorship. The emotional alarm system is running the show, and the logical mind is taken hostage. You can't think your way out of a panic attack because the part of your brain responsible for thinking has been functionally disconnected to prioritize immediate survival motion. This leaves you in a state of constant, exhausting hypervigilance. You are biologically incapable of relaxing because your CEO is offline and your alarm system is stuck on full blast. The third key player is the hippocampus. Think of this structure as your brain's historian or filing cabinet. It is responsible for processing memories and, crucially, stamping them with time and context. It's the part of you that says, this bad thing happened to me. It was in the past. I'm 5 years older now and I am safe. During a traumatic event, high levels of stress hormones, particularly cortisol, flood the brain. Unfortunately, cortisol is toxic to the hippocampus. If the stress is intense enough or prolonged enough, the hippocampus effectively shuts down or shrinks. When this happens, the traumatic memory doesn't get properly filed. It doesn't get that timestamp of "this is over." Instead, the traumatic memory floats around in your brain as fragmented, raw, active information. It exists in an eternal now. This is the neurological basis of a flashback. When the hyperactive amygdala detects a trigger in the present that is remotely similar to the past, the fragmented, floating traumatic memory is instantly reactivated. Because the hippocampus never filed it as past, your brain believes the event is happening right now. You aren't remembering a bad day. You are neurobiologically reliving it. So, the fundamental architecture of the traumatized brain is defined by a hyperactive alarm, an impaired logical manager, and a broken filing system. But why would your brain do this to itself? Why would it choose a life of constant fear and exhaustion? The answer is neuroplasticity. This is the brain's incredible ability to physically reorganize itself based on experience. There's a saying in neuroscience: neurons that fire together wire together. If your brain is repeatedly forced to fire in a state of terror, it builds superhighways of terror. It prunes away the delicate connections required for peace, creativity, and long-term planning, because those skills are useless during a bear attack. It builds thick, heavily insulated neural pathways for fear, scanning, and immediate reaction. Your brain is not broken, it is adapted. It did exactly what it needed to do to survive a world it perceived as hostile. It traded thriving for surviving. And this trade has a physical cost. When the brain is in a chronic state of survival, the body is bathed in adrenaline and cortisol. These are meant for short-term sprints, not marathons. Constant exposure to these chemicals wears down the immune system, causes chronic inflammation, impairs digestion, and disrupts sleep. The physical illnesses often associated with trauma, like chronic fatigue or autoimmune disorders, are not separate issues. They are the downstream effects of a brain that can no longer find its brake pedal. For many, this state also leads to dissociation. This is the ultimate freeze response. When the brain realizes that fighting isn't working and fleeing is impossible, it employs its last resort to protect you from overwhelming pain. It effectively pulls the plug on the connection between your brain and your body. This is a dorsal vagal response. The lights are on, but nobody's home. You feel numb, distant, and robotic. It is the brain's way of allowing you to endure the unendurable by simply not being present for it. Living with a brain adapted for trauma is a relentless, isolating, and invisible burden. It is being trapped in a psychological cage built from your own neural pathways. But there is a final, vital truth you must understand about the brain. Neuroplasticity works both ways. Just as the brain learned to be afraid, it can learn to feel safe again. Healing from trauma is not about getting over it through sheer willpower. You can't rationalize a hyperactive amygdala. The work of healing is the active, deliberate work of rewiring the physical structures of your brain. It is bottom-up repair. This means therapies that focus on the body first, like somatic experiencing or yoga, teach the nervous system that a state of rest is safe. It means therapies like EMDR that can help the hippocampus finally file those fragmented, raw memories into the past where they belong. It means practicing mindfulness to build a container for your emotions without being flooded by them, slowly strengthening the connection to the prefrontal cortex. It involves forging safe, consistent connections with other people. Disconnection created the wound, and only connection can heal it. When you are with someone who makes you feel truly safe, your social engagement system activates, which sends a powerful neurochemical message to the amygdala that it can finally stand down. The brain that was forged in fire can be cooled by water. It will be the hardest work you've ever done, but it is the necessary journey of reclaiming your brain's CEO, soothing its alarm, and filing away your history so you can finally begin to exist in the present.